So there's a lot of interest in soil carbon storage, and one of the first things one should wonder about soil carbon storage is how does carbon get into the soil in the first place? And there's really a couple of different routes on by which this happens, and it's important to know about them. The first and most obvious one to most people will be by plant above ground litter. As you can see behind me, there's all kinds of dead stuff sitting around on the soil surface, and eventually it'll be worked into the soil and then has a chance to become part of soil organic matter down the road. So there's above ground litter, and what people think generally a lot less about, because it's not as obvious, is below ground litter. So roots also turn over, not just the leaves above ground, and that is also a substantial input route of organic carbon into the soil. But that's not all. So roots are basically fairly open, almost sloppy systems by necessity as they grow through the soil. So roots constantly release quite a lot of carbon into the soil all the time. That, for example, happens through lateral root initiation, which is quite a messy process because the side roots kind of push out through the existing roots, and the root, and so basically a bunch of stuff is released into the soil at that moment. But also the root cap is full of basically slime-like material that is also constantly released into the soil. Entire cells are sloughed off, and there's also low molecular weight substances that are constantly released into the soil as well. All of that together is called rhiza deposition. So from whatever comes from the living root, a living healthy root, and is released into the soil is called rhiza deposition. That also amounts to quite a lot. Then you need to consider that roots are not normally just existing by themselves, but they're usually in symbiosis with fungi, for example. And so there's mycorrhizal fungi. And so plant roots also give carbon directly to the mycorrhizal fungi. And the mycorrhizal fungi, as they grow into the soil and turn over there, will also be an input route of carbon into the soil from the root that is quite distinct from rhiza deposition, which is just the release of organic matter from a living root. So this is basically allocation to symbionts. The symbionts then carry that carbon into the soil. Yeah, those are the main routes. And of course, if you're talking about a more managed ecosystem, like an agricultural ecosystem, then you also have human inputs, like addition of biochar, addition of straw or compost or sewage sludge, for example. They can be, of course, quite important in managed ecosystems. Yeah, so that's the input side of carbon into the soil. And once that carbon is into the soil, then it has a chance to be stabilized. It has various different fates. It can also be respired off, so it can be released again as carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, but that's for another video. So for now, see ya. Bye.